talking to Papa.
Yes, uncle is talking to Papa. And now she's in a phase where she likes Frozen. You like Frozen?
Oh, she is.
Yeah. Who's your favorite character from Frozen?
Elsa.
So she thinks she's Elsa. She likes Elsa a lot. So nowadays it's Frozen. So she has Frozen books, and it's evolved. It's not just Frozen books that she reads, but it's also books that she colors and does more activities on. So thank you. That was very sweet of you. Thank you. Arya.
Who's daddy talking to? Hey, Aftab, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for doing this, and thanks for having me and all of us on.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to this chat. Hi, how are you, Arya?
Can you wave hi?
Hi. Hi.
Okay. It's a very, very excited hi. Okay, with that said, Aftab, welcome to Dad's is Dude.
Yeah.
Where I'd love to hear your perspective, hopefully Arya's perspective as well, and later on your wife Yashika's perspective about some challenges that you faced bringing up a child, your relationship with your daughter, and what you learned in the entire process. And hopefully this serves as a good learning material for other dads.
Yes,
and also other moms as well. So with that said, why don't I let you give a quick introduction about yourself?
I met my wife, Yashika, about almost 12 years ago. We dated for a while and then we got married in 2012. So it's almost 8 years now since we got married. And our daughter, Arya, was born in 2016. She just celebrated her 4th birthday earlier in the month in April.
Okay. It seems like you have a clear preference for a daughter. Why is that? Why do you hate boys so much?
Well, to use a expression from Hindi, I joke generally that ladke nalayak hote. So I often tell my wife that if we had a boy, wo bahut pitta mujhse. So I just think that jokes aside, I think a daughter brings out in a father, a lot of emotions that you generally don't associate with men, right? Which is like empathy, caring, just this general softer side. You really can't be very harsh. And also, I think I didn't realize it, but a lot of people used to tell me, my father-in-law used to tell me because Yashika's father, right? So and Yashika is his eldest child. So he would tell me that when you'll have when Arya grows up, you'll realize that she's very close to you because daughters tend to be closer to their dads. I never knew that because, as I said, I didn't have a lot of female cousins around me. I'd only seen boys. So to me, that bond with her kind of kept growing stronger and stronger over the last 4 years because, she's a different child with me and she can take different degrees of liberties with me than she can with Yashika, and she knows that. And she also exploits that on certain occasions. But then as a dad, I find it very hard to, discipline her the way maybe Yashika can do that. And if I had a boy, it would have been very easy for me. That's why I said, daughters tend to bring out different kind of emotions within dads.
Is there something special that daughters do that helps that emotion come out more?
Well, I think normally, so I think in the context of a child, it's a different reaction. I think as a dad, you obviously feel responsible towards your children, right? Your children kind of always come first once they're born. But I think with a daughter, you feel a little bit extra love in your heart, right? Just because they're a little bit more softer, they're more responsive. They're always kind of being very. They respond to the love even more strongly. I haven't had a son, so I mean, again, I'm hypothesizing, right? It might well be that the boys do the same, but I've always heard, and based on my experience, I can validate that boys tend to have a much stronger bonding with their mother. And I know that I was a boy growing up, and it was later on in life that once I matured a little bit, that me and my dad really reached a good understanding where we were close as friends. But with my mom, it was always that if I had to get something done, I could go to my mom and ask her to convince my dad And I think it's the same thing with the daughter-father relationship as well. That the daughters rely more on the father, and it's just the gender and how the gender roles play in. I think dads, anyways, tend to be a little bit more protective of their daughters, right? With sons, we assume that this they'll be able to take care of themselves, and I think that emotion then manifests itself very early on in the life of the child, and continues, and it kind of becomes this overriding uh, emotion in a dad-daughter relationship. And so that's why dads generally have this very soft heart towards their
How did
daughters.
you, with this love in the picture, how did you go about implementing good habits for Arya?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And I would say that it's very important for that both the parents have this understanding in the background that, ultimately you need to be consistent. So even if I'm not a strong disciplinarian with her, I try not to do anything that's inconsistent with what my wife is doing. And it's important for the child to see at some fundamental level a degree of consistency in the approach between the parents, right? So if one parent, or if as parents we've decided that, okay, she needs to wake up at 7 in the morning to go to preschool, that means she has to be in bed by 8 o'clock every night, then it is 8 o'clock every night. Then it can't be that I am indulging her till 9 o'clock, or something like that. So I think that degree of consistency is important. It's also important that to whatever extent you can, you both try and adopt certain commonalities in your approach. So if there's a technique that you're trying to teach the child, that okay, they have to do this, meal time involves this routine. If they're trying to write, you kind of have to teach them how to grip a pencil, for example, right? So this is kind of how you teach them. So you both try and do it the same way, so the child does not see inconsistent messaging. I think that is fundamental to making sure that the habits stick, right? Because then, see, at the end of the day, like, the child goes to school, they see a lot of peers, but they come back home, or the time that they spend at home before they go to school, they're seeing two adults, right? And with children, one of our biggest learnings was that they're sponges, right? In this early age, they absorb a lot. So reinforcement is a big way to make things stick. And if they're seeing two adults reinforce the same behavior, then it sticks better.
Is there like a laundry list of things that you discussed up front?
No, I don't think you can do that in parenting. I think the thing with being a parent is every day is a new day. Things evolve. You have to be very dynamic, and we are seeing it with our parents as well, right? So even to this day, like when we ask them for advice, the range of things we ask them on advice has changed. But I think some of the things that we kind of arrived at an understanding on fairly early was that we needed to follow a common approach, and we needed to be in it together. So the time for discussion and debate is not in front of the child. It is in the background. And it's before you kind of decide to do something. But to be honest, I mean, it's not something, I wouldn't say on these topics there's ever really been strong disagreements. I think mostly we've been very well, as the word we use in consulting, right? We've been very well aligned. So like even from very early age, we knew that, when Arya was an infant, we had to train her sleep training, like what they call it. And so we were on board. We both decided like how we wanted to do it. We supported each other. Similarly, like, when she's become a little bit older, making sure the bedtime routine is followed. Dividing tasks and duties between us. So like I typically generally do most of her bedtime, right? So she's used to the fact that, okay, there's one parent who's doing it and it's done in a certain way. So her expectation is there. So yeah, I think trying to divide things as much as you can. And then, as I said earlier, just being on the same page, and just having an open and flexible mind to respond to newer things that come in. So like with whole COVID-19 things being locked down, Arya's at home with us. So we've kind of had to adapt again.
How did you go about thinking about planning a sleep schedule or any other techniques that you use for Arya? That's one. And the other is you've mentioned to me in the past that you've inculcated a love for reading books for Arya. How did you go about doing that? So just your reviews on both of these.
Yeah, and I wouldn't take credit, full credit for both of those things. I think Yashika probably deserves more credit than me.
Okay.
Because she was the one who actually discovered the concept of sleep training when we were in your position, right? We were still to be parents, so we knew about it, courtesy her. So, and to some extent, I mean, every child is different. We would say we are a little bit lucky. Arya is a sleeper, so she ended up having good sleeping habits, right? But what we had to do very consciously, especially I think after her first month, was making sure that we maintained this distinction between night and day for her, right? So as early, I remember that maybe even in her first month, right, when she would wake up at night asking for feeding, we would not entertain her or cajole her. It was very business-like, right? She's woken up, she needs to be fed, feed her, put her back to sleep. Whereas if it's daytime, then she sees that, oh, there's daylight, she's woken up, somebody will kind of hold her up, try to get her attention, coo with her, right? So that thing we maintained all through. If it was night, the curtains had to be closed, the room only needed to have one light, and it used to be super business-like, very efficient, not at all, no talking, nothing. So even till today, like if she wakes up at night and she's thirsty, one of us will go and give her water, and then it's like, you go back to bed. We are not having any conversation right now. So that was very important. I think some things also come on the side that you learn, as you become parents, that the night feeding needs to be a fairly decent sized feeding so that the child doesn't wake up in the middle of the night feeling hungry. So we made sure that when it was milk, formula, proper food, right, she was getting a good feed at night before going to bed, because we realized that it helped our sanity a lot the moment her night sleep started being 4 hours, 5 hours, right? She starts going for that stretch. Physically, it allows you the time to recover as parents. Reading is an interesting one. I think it kind of happened organically. It wasn't really consciously planned in a way. We both are readers, me and my wife. We both like to read books. So it was natural that, when we set up like I won't even say we waited for too long. I think even when she was like in her second or third month, we had a few books that we would try to read to her sometime during the day. Then towards, I think, post or towards the time when she started turning or was about to turn 1, we started with a bedtime routine, where I would like put her to bed and I would read a book to her. And it so started with being board books, and then you graduate to picture books, right? And she started taking an interest in them. And randomly, I remember like this one day when, when she could walk a little bit, she went and picked up one of her books because she remembered it was being read to her at night, and she started flipping through it. And so from that, it really grew. And then we exposed her a little bit more. So we started getting like about 15 to 20 books every week from the local library. Sometimes we discovered there were certain themes she liked, so we actually started buying those books. And so that's grown, and now she has like her own mini library. So I think the exposure has helped. And then, yes, obviously there's an inherent interest, I think, in the child as well, which we try to inculcate. Yeah, so I think that's kind of what we've seen. So her preferences have kind of evolved, and in between there are some other characters also that she's seen and she's liked. So if we found that, okay, this resonates with her, then we've gotten her more books on that theme that she can keep reading.
Got it. Okay. So before we call Yashika, I want to ask you one final thing, which is, what's been your biggest learning raising Arya so far?
It's difficult to pin down. I would say patience and perseverance. They come in different ways. So patience and perseverance, I think, in the initial part when the baby is young, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. I think all new parents do. We did as well. First year can be very tough, the first few months. But it's important to realize that, they grow up and things get better, right? They'll start sleeping. They'll sleep for longer. They'll reach a point where they're not drinking milk. There'll be a point where they'll start walking. They'll be more independent. They will get potty trained at some point of time, depending on how much time each child takes. So it's important to keep that perspective in mind. And patience also, which I think we sometimes underplay the value of when you're dealing with a child. And I actually learned another lesson in it this morning itself, and Yashika can speak to it also when she comes, and she brought it up. And the example I would give is that we were trying actually in the morning. I was talking to my in-laws, and we were trying to explain to them how to take a picture on an auto timer from the phone, right? And we realized that it took us like 15-20 minutes to explain to them. So it was almost like how you explain to a child, right? So the thing that we were discussing was that we learned the lesson that you have to be very patient with your parents when you're trying to teach them something new, because they were so patient with us when they were teaching us, right? So when I'm teaching Arya to hold a pencil or to write an ABCD, it's the first time somebody's explaining that to her. So you have to be patient. And we kind of realized it in the reverse, that it's the same thing with our parents as well, right? If they're learning a new technology, their age was very different, so you have to be equally patient with them. So yeah, I think not getting too impatient with the child also is important. They learn at their own pace, and that's something that we have to remind ourselves continuously. Don't get irritated if the child doesn't understand it the first time.